So I would like to spend a little bit more time. I know we are on the hour, but if you don't mind, and I
No.
wouldn't mind, I can explain a little bit more the part that has to do with consciousness and
With pleasure.
how this affects, how we use attention affects neurotoxicity. And
With pleasure.
it's really fascinating. So Fehmi was doing some research with his neurofeedback equipment and his electroencephalogram equipment in New York, in his office, where he has his practice. And his intention at that moment was to find out what type of techniques coming from yoga or relaxation techniques that are being used in psychology, which come from yoga usually, were really effective at increasing alpha waves. That was the subject of his research. And he found that in general all these techniques like fractionated relaxation, visualizations, and the concentration on the breath and were ineffective. That in reality they had some effects, but they were inconsistent. And he was looking for something more consistent. So he had a subject connected to the EEG at some point, and he had an intuition of asking him to imagine empty space. So the subject imagines empty space, he's looking at the electroencephalogram, and boom, there's a burst of alpha waves like this, instantaneously. He kept researching with this technique, and he found that in fact, just imagining empty space immediately triggers plenty of alpha waves. So finally his research led him to find a technique, or simple technique, that is capable of doing the trick and increasing your alpha waves, which is something that is considered part of good mental health. Bingo. But his research led him later to see that what is it that imagining empty space has to do with the waves in the brain and the thinking process and meditation and so on. And he discovered that when you do this, when you go into open focus, when you imagine empty space, you go into open focus. Yeah? And what that means? It simply means that the attention opens up. Yeah? It opens up instead of being narrowed down. So we are in narrow focus when the attention is looking at the screen, and I'm completely focused into what's going on in the screen, working, typing a letter, and that's narrow focus, typical narrow focus. You're typing a letter, you're concentrating in the thoughts, and you're concentrating in the typing, and blah, 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 and then you are in narrow focus. Any question?
Probably you're also in narrow focus when you're thinking about some kind of a problem while you're driving your car and you're chewing your tongue.
Right. You're in narrow focus in all those situations. When you are driving your car with worries in the head, worries are the worst to bring you into narrow focus, because the moment you worry, the attention goes into those thoughts and it obsesses with those thoughts and narrows the focus into thinking, into that thinking pattern. So it's the worst. Now, in narrow focus, you don't have alpha waves. You have plenty of beta waves and gamma waves, high energy waves, and the brain is right? However, if you are driving the car and you are worried, and suddenly you just do something as simple as driving and begin to notice the noise on the street of the passing cars, and you notice that, you are dividing the attention in two, right? The driving and noticing the sounds or the noise of the traffic. The minute you divide the attention in two, that's it. You are into open focus. And the minute you do that, alpha waves come to help you. And the brain slows down. And the worrying is over. So open focus attention is the panacea for this. Yes, tell me.
Would you say that also? You said listening to the sounds around you, but how about paying attention to your bodily sensations, which is resulting from the narrow focus?
Yes, it's very likely, that if you are driving the car and you are giving attention to the driving, and at the same time you begin to notice the sensations in the body, you have divided the attention into two. You are in open focus now. So there are a zillion possibilities, of course, because the senses are providing, with, I think it's today, is estimated in hundreds of gigabytes per second of information to the brain. So it's so easy, to defocus into two things. In fact, you can learn to defocus into three things. You can also notice the weight of the body on the chair, the noise of the computer, the noise on the streets, the conversation, and the focus opens up, right? So there's nothing mysterious about this. It's very simple. It's ingrained, in the characteristics of consciousness, because attention is consciousness. It's not different than consciousness. It's consciousness. We say, I'm giving attention to the sounds in the streets, or I am becoming conscious of the sounds in the street. Consciousness and attention are the same thing. Yeah? Same awareness. I'm aware of the sounds in the street. So, awareness, consciousness, attention are all the same. This mysterious non-dual, because obviously consciousness or attention is non-dual. It's not positive or negative, it just is, right? It's like a focus that opens up or closes down. Opens up or closes down. But the closing down into worrying or into working obsessively generates lots of thoughts, while the open up calms down the brain. Or you go into open focus and you calm down the brain immediately. So it's the perfect meditation technique, because also you don't need to cross your legs in the morning. You just can spend the day in open focus all day long.
Right? To me, there's a very strong opposition between control and letting go. I would say narrow focus is always, in one way or another, control.
Yeah. Yes, narrow focus is about control, open focus and concern about control, and open focus is about letting go. Yeah, that's true. So it has psychological implications too. So this Dr. Fehmi, he found out through his research that yes, humanity is suffering from unthinkable amounts of suffering just because we have lost the understanding that we need to be in open focus, not in narrow focus. And when we were in the
that's the reptilian brain, no? That's keeping us focused on the danger.
Yeah, the reptilian brain keeping us focused in the danger. Yes. Not only that, think of life in nature. In nature, you naturally go into open focus. You tend to be in open focus. You are in the jungle. If you are not in open focus, noticing everything that is happening around you, you may die, man. It may cost you your life. So it's natural. You move through the jungle in open focus. Now, if a tiger comes right in front of you, you go into narrow focus and you immediately see what the hell is that animal is going to do, and you observe all its body language to make sure you know that it's not going to attack you. But if the tiger turns around and leaves and you keep walking your path, you go into narrow focus again, right? because you want to know what's going on around. And narrow focus is a state of relaxation, but alertness. So now we have developed a civilization that is obsessively into narrow focus and is obsessively worrying and concerned.
Like this.
Right. Exactly. This thing.
Very narrow.
Very narrow focus.
They're making the screens bigger, but it's not helping.
Right. However, if you grab the iPhone and you begin to do this, but you keep a little bit of the attention in the noises that are around, bingo, you are not caught. Now, it may take some training to do this, but I guarantee you that it's worth mastering this, staying in open focus all day long, because not only this is neuroprotective to a great degree. I mean, the minute I begin to bruxate, I go into narrow focus, it's over. Yeah? If this starts again, it means that I went into narrow focus. I'm concerned about the thoughts that are going on here. I move into open focus. That's it. Over. It's extremely neuroprotective. Not only is neuroprotective, the best news is the following. If you begin to spend your time during the day in open focus, I guarantee it, happiness is yours. It's as simple as that. If you do this with certain consistency, there will be happiness all day long.
You know what? It's actually quite amazing. What you're saying, all this that you're describing, it's exactly what has been the focus of my personal development for the last few weeks.
The focus of your personal development during the last weeks.
Like the main subject for me in my the thing I'm working on on myself.
You're working on this on yourself.
I'm working exactly on this. And yesterday,
that's good.
And yesterday I made a little list because I find it hard. Some days I find a really good key to transition into open focus. Yeah. And then I say to myself, oh my God, I found the key, right? This is great. Right. Tomorrow I'm going to use this key again.
That's right. Yeah? That's right.
But what happens, it's tricky because the open focus becomes the object of my narrow focus.
Yes, because you get to worry about it. Right.
I'm thinking ahead. I want to stay in open focus. 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 And the result is it's actually it's like trying to take a chewing gum off your fingers using your fingers.
Right.
Yeah, you end up like
yes. If you begin to worry that I am not in open focus, that's narrow focus. You are worrying, and that's it. You lost the battle.
Tricky.
So
this is why. And sorry, just let me finish.
Yes.
To me, what helps me get out of this loop,
yes,
yeah, is that the solution cannot be in the mind. The solution cannot be.
The solution cannot be in the mind. Of course not.
It's because the mind is
the solution is in consciousness.
Yeah, but exactly. But it's the mind likes to
figure it out.
The mind likes to pretend it is consciousness, right?
Right. It pretends that it is consciousness. It
likes to. It
pretends that it is
a moment. Yeah, exactly. A moment of inattention, and hope your mind is disguised as consciousness. And for me, the trick is the greatest realization I've had with this is that the body is key. The body is. How should I say this? The body awareness.
Yes, body awareness.
Body awareness is the key for me to basically always be able to get into open focus. Not me. if I rely on a visualization, if I rely on a nice thought, on some kind of a mental formula to take me to open focus,
it doesn't work.
It works maybe once, it works for a while, and then but one thing I found very reliable is to as soon as I realize that I'm in narrow focus, I pay attention to how this narrow focus is manifesting on the physical level.
Yes.
And as soon as I do this, I disidentify with it.
Very good. See, it's personal, Daniel. You're finding something incredibly valuable for yourself, which is that the sensations in the body, you're probably a kinesthetic type of person. The sensations in the body lead you, by noticing them, leads you immediately into open focus. For example, in this organism, one of the easiest way, especially when, for example, I'm working with you, how do I go into open focus while we are having this conversation? Well, very easily. I notice the sounds around, the noises and sounds that are around, the noises of the environment. If I'm in a coffee shop, it's even easier because there is so much noise, right? So it's personal, but there is one thing that I would like to emphasize here, that is that eventually, unless you are focused, like in this case that we are really focusing into what's happening in this very moment in our conversation, and it's easy to go into narrow focus, it's too easy to go into narrow focus, so I use the device of listening to the the white noise of the heater, that is the fan, is, as you can hear it. But however, if I'm just walking on the street and I don't need so much concentration, a very simple way to do this is, and the simplest of the simplest, at least that I have found, is to just do it. What means by this is consciousness, either narrow focus or open focus, is a natural function of consciousness. Therefore, it comes the time that when you have practiced this type of tricks and techniques and methods, it comes the time that they are not necessary. You just go into an open focus. You just say, it's a skill. You say open focus, okay, to yourself, and you go into open focus. You don't say anything, just do it. You just do it, you just go into open focus.
I know exactly what you mean.
And you know what I mean, right? So ideally, you want to be into something so simple that is not even a technique. It's not even a technique. You have bypassed all the techniques of yoga, all the techniques of awareness, all the techniques of everything. You are not imagining even empty space. You just open the focus, man. Now,
it's like opening your eyes.
Right, it's like opening your eyes or closing your eyes or moving your fingers. Okay. Yeah. The next thing that I would like to mention that is extremely important to have it clear. This guy, Fehmi, in his book, if you read his book, and I highly recommend,
I definitely will, yeah.
At some point there, he's a scientist, so he's trying to avoid probably, the conflict of the identity, because scientists are very self-centered, and so for science, which is totally unscientific because it's not possible to find that thing, but for science, they say me here, or a little bundle, separate consciousness looking to the universe. And there is another me there, another little bundle or self or little self looking to the universe. And to make things worse, science will tell you that this bundle of consciousness that is separate from the rest is, in reality, springs from the brain. The complexity of the brain generates consciousness. Well, it's totally the opposite, right? Consciousness is before the brain, and brain is being used by consciousness to look into this experience. And at the end of life, when the brain disintegrates, consciousness survives, is sustained in the astral body, and then, comes all the thing that we call the level of the soul. We have talked about this. But in reality, through this exercise and through this work, Fehmi woke up. What does it mean that he woke up? It's clear in the book. He says in the book, I am awareness, meaning I am consciousness. So he realized through this work that he is consciousness. that he is this focus that opens up and closes down, and that he is not the mind, he's not the body, he's not the ego, meaning all the identifications with all the ideas about me and my story and my problems, right? And I am Gian, and I am 60, and I am American, or I am Chilean, or all this, I am this, I am that, this basket of thoughts and ideas about me, they are ideas only, they are not what I am. I am the awareness that is seeing all those thoughts when they come through the screen of the mind. So he realized his true self as awareness through this work. So in reality, I want to encourage you to insist in shifting your identity to the right place. The right place is I am awareness. Just undifferentiated awareness, not a particular bundle of consciousness, that is separated from the rest of the universe, because that's not true either. When you notice in your experience this seeing, this awareness, this consciousness, this attention moving, closing, narrowing, you notice that it is, first of all, non-dual, second is constant or eternal, all the time is there, and third is undifferentiated. There's nothing in the experience of consciousness that can say, that could tell me that this bundle of consciousness here is different than the consciousness that is seen through that plant or through an animal. There's nothing, nothing to indicate that there is a difference. So basically we are left with a simple observation, we are left with the fact that what is seen through each organism in the universe is undifferentiated consciousness. So it's like having many vessels with different colors, different shapes, that have the still water. And the still water in each one of them is the still water. It's not different. So the consciousness that looks through any human being, that sees through any plant or any animal in the universe, and including alien beings and reptilians or whatever, this is just the divine consciousness, the one universal consciousness. So when awakening is extremely valuable to get rid of the narrow focus. Why? Because
exitotoxicity.
An exitotoxicity, because you stop obsessing about you, because you saw through the lie of the me, I, and you see that story of the me and the I, and I am Daniel, was a story the same as Santa Claus. You were told that Santa Claus was real, but at some point you realize it's a story, right? So you were told that Daniel is real and that exists, with such and such characteristics, and has had all this story up to this moment, and it's a story only. It's the same as Santa Claus. You are not Daniel. You are pure awareness, and I am not Jan. I am pure awareness. It was a story. Now, this leads to the irreversibility of awakening, meaning that same as when you saw that Santa Claus was not real, there is no way that you can regress back, because it would be total madness to say, no, it is real, No, you saw it, you went to your dad's a closet, you opened and you saw there the Santa Claus garment, and you realize, okay, it was not real. So the same thing, you look into your own experience. I am awareness, the me I cannot find it anywhere in my own experience, therefore, and you can repeat the experiment 1,000,000 times, so the awakening is irreversible. You realize that it was a story, that's it. And it helps immensely to decrease the obsessions into narrow focus. Do you see that?
Absolutely. But what if the story of our how do you say it, identity? What if the story of your identity, this Santa Claus lie?
Yeah.
Yeah. What if the story was told to us by our survival instinct, and it is based in fear?
Well, survival.
It's like a biological. It's like a biological. It's like, I see it like two poles. Like the human the human is the battlefield, not between good and evil, but between awareness, which is fully open focused, right, and the illusion of our identity has its roots in fear, which is a result of our survival instinct.
Yes, got it. No, it's not like that. See, animals have the same survival instinct that we have, but self-consciousness and the imagination that we are a me or an I is something very human, and it's conditioning, societal conditioning. So the survival instinct will, after awakening, will continue. The fear response to a real threat will happen in the mind-body organism after awakening too. Yeah, but it will be perceived by this perceiving, this awarenessing, and that thing, your true nature will not identify with what's going on in the mind-body organism. So the mind-body organism may eventually die, but there's a part of you, your real self, that is detached and is at peace in the midst of crashing worlds. As Yogananda puts it, in his teachings, he said, the yogi, the self-realized yogi, is at peace in the midst of crashing worlds. Enlightenment is not what people think. It's not a cosmic consciousness experience. It's peace under all circumstances. That's enlightenment. Peace under all circumstances is open focus under all circumstances, or narrow focus when it's absolutely necessary, because of the work or whatever, and then, but without worrying, so that there is no suffering. No suffering, peace under all circumstances, that's enlightenment. Awakening helps enlightenment, but enlightenment is superior. Enlightenment or liberation is when we are 24/7 at peace, right? So you can imagine the significance of this simple skill, which is to go into open focus at will, because that is the door to enlightenment. The awakening in your case happened already, Daniel. You have it already. You know that you are not Daniel. You know that you are awareness, and that in itself is immensely helpful to practice open focus, right?
It's a skill, like any skill, it needs to be mastered. Right?
Well, it's very helpful to the awakening helps immensely because you stop worrying about you. At least decreases immensely the worrying about you. But the open focus comes later as a skill that is immensely useful to attain final liberation from all suffering, because nothing is capable of contracting you.
Yeah.
And then, there is some embodiment work that needs to do after awakening, so that things will not contract you, like strong negative emotions in the organism may still create some contraction, or strong sensations. So negative sensations. So you want to do embodiment work. That's what I do in the courses Psychology of Consciousness. I spend tons of time into that, because the course starts with an awakening, and hopefully my student will wake up in the first 2 classes, and then the rest of the course will be spent into embodiment of the awakening, helping them to stay in open focus. But this, now what I'm discovering, that this is totally interconnected with the neurology of the brain, as you're seeing, and the neuroprotective, how this is immensely neuroprotective.
Yeah.
But I'm not discarding, you see, the nutritional part, as some people, that they will lose the holistic perspective of life, and they will discard the nutritional. They will say, oh no, it's all consciousness. I deal with every problem in life through consciousness. No.
Don't you think
the body can drive you crazy? So let's be careful.
Don't you think that GABA could play an important part in avoiding excitotoxicity?
GABA may play an important part in the sense that it might be also a neuroprotective substance.
Because it actually counteracts, right?
It tends to calm down the brain. So if GABA crosses the brain barrier, in your case or in your client's case, use GABA. That also can help. Vitamin C is a neuroprotective substance. Glucose is a neuroprotective substance of great significance if it's in the right range. Avoiding hypoglycemias. Blaylock points again and again on the importance of avoiding hypoglycemias. That's why the snacking during the day is so important. That's why when you feel nervous, you're working nervously and you feel that you are going through some hypoglycemia, and to grab something to eat is not coping with food, is life protective measurements, right? Neuroprotective measurements. To eat something healthy, increase your glucose somewhat, make the brain comfortable.
Totally. Actually, I bought a book today that might have some interesting information about all this. I'm pretty sure. It's called Gut. It's actually it's a big bestseller right now.
And I would say that this is also connected to the problem of neurotoxicity, because I suspect that Candida and other microorganisms that develop abnormally in the guts can produce neurotoxic substances that will increase glutamate. What for? Will make your brain restless, will make you go into suffering, and you will naturally look for foods that feed the candida, like white sugar, right? So these critters, are diabolic, man. They know the biochemistry of the brain, they know the biochemistry of the body, and they can play with your biochemistry too. Yeah. I have to go. This was a terrific session.